Hi everyone, welcome back to i-Tutor IAS Academy, Tamil Nadu History NCERT series. This is our last unit of world history and all history. So far we discussed ancient history, medieval history, modern history in India and also world history we discussed. So this is our last chapter. So this is world today. Here we discussed how world today and in last session we discussed cold war and all and new world order today we will discuss and any doubts on history ncrt series you can contact us anytime and let's begin from here. And the year 1945 is a landmark in the history of modern world. It marked the end of multipolar world and balance of power, and the world saw the emergence of bipolar world and the rise of superpowers, that is the USA and the USSR. And in 1990 the collapse of Soviet Union once again changed the existing world order, and the new world order is witnessing the unipolar world, globalization and the new technologies, age of information and also global terrorism. So 1990 and 1991 is a turning point in the history of world. And fall of Soviet Union. So this is Gorbachev, picture of Gorbachev. Mikhail Gorbachev became the president of the Soviet Union in March 1985. He instituted a number of political reform under the name of Glasnost. However, the Gorbachev's relaxation of censorship and attempt to create more political openness had the unintended effect of reawakening long suppressed national and anti-Russian feelings in the Soviet Union's constituent republic. Domestically, Gorbachev implemented economic reforms that he hoped would improve living standard and worker productivity as part of his perestroika program. This new economic policy permitted private ownership, and all this reform led to the revolutionary changes in the USSR on 8th December 1991. And the leaders of the Russian, Ukraine, and Belarusian Republic issued a declaration that the Soviet Union was dissolved and replaced by the Commonwealth of Independent State. Okay, and the Gorbachev became president without a country. On 25th December 1991, he resigned as president of USSR and returned the power of his office over to Boris Yeltsin. And the next day, the Supreme Soviet voted to dissolve itself and repealed the declaration written in 1922 that had officially established the USSR. Thus, the collapse of the Soviet Union took place. So that is the fall of Soviet Union and German reunification. After the World War, Germany was divided into two separate nations. East Germany was fully under the control of USSR, and Western Germany was supported by the USA and her allies. And a wall was erected across Berlin to separate these two German territories. It was a famous Berlin Wall. But with the collapse of USSR, the German reunification took place on October 3, 1990, and the area of the former German Democratic Republic, that is East Germany, were incorporated into the Federal Republic of Germany, that is West Germany. And after the GDR's first free election on 18 March 1990, negotiations between the GDR and FRG, that is Federal Republic of Germany, and uh, 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 means Eastern Germany. Okay, that is German Democratic Republic. Okay, culminated in the unification treaty. So that is the German reunification happened, and nuclear disarmament. In the history of warfare, nuclear weapons have been used only twice, on 6th 8th of August 1945 when the United States dropped atom bomb on Japanese cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Since then, the nuclear weapon have been detonated on over 2000 occasions for testing and demonstrations purposes. The countries known to have detonated such a weapon are the United States, Soviet Union, and United Kingdom, France, People's Republic of China, India, Pakistan, and North Korea. And in order to minimize the risk of future nuclear war, the Non Proliferation Treaty, that is NPT, was proposed. And the NPT is the most extensive inspection and control system ever devised to prevent the diversion of nuclear material from civilian nuclear program for weapon purpose. And the idea of nuclear weapon free zone was mooted to convince the countries refusing to join NPT club. And the concept of nuclear weapon free zone means that the countries without nuclear weapon should agree not to produce a nuclear weapon and declare their region free from nuclear weapons. It was followed by the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, that is CTBT, to tighten the control over nuclear weapon program. Okay, so that is about nuclear disarmament and globalization. Globalization has become an important issue in the national and international economic field. Globalization has assumed great importance in the recent changes in global business environment. Now, business has global orientation, and the whole world has become just like a global village. And globalization implies integration of economy of one nation with the rest of the world economy, and liberalizing the rule and regulations for foreign investment in economy. Broadly speaking, the globalization means integration of economies and societies through cross country flows of information, ideas, technologies, goods, services, capital, finance, and people. And cross border integration can have several dimensions: cultural, social, political, and economic. So, that is about globalization and India and globalization. The economic policy of India since 1991 proved to be a turning point in the history of Indian economy. In 1991, Indian government introduced a series of reforms to liberalize and globalize the Indian economy. These economic reform moved towards the market economy and globalization. These policies of economic reform were intended to integrate the Indian economy with the world economy. World Trade Organization, WTO. The origin of the World Trade Organization could be traced from Bretton Woods Conference of 1944. In this conference, it was proposed for the creation of an international trade organization to establish rules and regulations for trade between countries. It finally succeeded in creating the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, that is GATT. Okay, GATT was formed first, and seven rounds of negotiations occurred under the GATT. The eighth round, known as the Uruguay round, which began in 1986 and concluded in 1995, established the WTO. And the main aim of WTO is to increase international trade by promoting lower trade barriers and providing a platform for the negotiation of trade. Okay, and the World Trade Organization set the rules for the global trading system and resolve dispute between its member states. And the WTO headquarters is located in Geneva, Switzerland. There are 149 members in the organization, with Vietnam set to join in January 2007. And the General Council of the WTO is highest decision making body. This meets regularly to carry out the function of the WTO. And one of the criticism against the WTO is that it favors rich countries and multinational corporation, which affect the smaller state. And another criticism is the introduction of trade related aspect of the intellectual property right, that is trips into the world trade organization rules and regulations. And European Economic Community. The European Economic Community, that is EEC, was an organization established, that is 1958, by the treaty between Belgium, France, Italy, Luxembourg, and the Netherlands and West Germany, known informally as the Common Market. The EEC, that is European Economic Community, was the most significant of the three treaty organizations that were consolidated in 1967 to form the European Community. It is known as the European Union since 1993. The European Union, or EU, is an intergovernmental and supranational union of 25 European countries known as member state. So that is European Economic Community. And global terrorism. The term terrorism means politically motivated violence carried out against mostly unarmed civilian population by a group of terrorists. The term international terrorism means terrorism involving citizens of more than one country. So today the terrorism is globalized. Hence the UN Security Council on 28th September 2001 passed a resolution against terrorism, and the UN resolution condemned all forms of terrorism such as political, ideological, ethnic, religion, or any other forms. And there are several acts of terrorism committed all over the world, and the most violent terrorist attack was made on the twin towers of the World Trade Center, New York, on September 11, 2001 in USA. On the morning of September 11, 2001, 19 terrorists affiliated with the Al Qaeda terrorist organization hijacked four commercial passenger jet planes in USA. Each team hijackers included the trained pilot, and the hijackers crashed two of the plane into the World Trade Center in New York City, one plane into each tower. As a result, both buildings collapsed, and a third plane was crashed into the Pentagon in Arlington country and Virginia. In this terrorist attack, 2009, 73 people died, and they belonged to many countries. So India has been also witnessed terrorist violence since 1980. First in Punjab and the Jammu Kashmir and other part of India, nearly 20,000 people have been killed in terrorist violence in Jammu and Kashmir, involving both shootings and bombing. The Jammu and Kashmir, India, is experienced cross-border terrorism, and recently also happened, all of you know. And in 1992, serial bomb blast in Bombay were one of the major incident of terrorism in India in recent years. And the bomb blast in the Lajpat Nagar, Delhi, in 1996 had also resulted in a large number of civilian casualties, and there have been many more incidents of bomb blast in different part of the country. And Indian Airlines aircraft were hijacked to Kandahar and the headquarters of the Taliban. 178 innocent passengers were held hostage there for a week, and the Indian government had to make a very difficult decisions, and it was forced to release three terrorists from Indian prisons to secure the safety of hostages. And on 13 December 2001, there was an attack on the Indian parliament. Hence India, along with the UN, has condemned terrorism because it violates the human right of the innocent citizens. So now also happening, that is about global terrorism and environmental threats. So today the world is much more worries about the environmental changes that are taking place around the globe. So the major threat identifies are global warming, greenhouse effect, and ozone depletion. So there is awareness among the educated public as well as general population to reduce the environmental pollution and make the earth a safe place to live. So this is nowadays world today. Okay. So this is the history of, and it's ongoing history. There is no end. And here is one timeline is there. It's from national movement onwards. So Indian history, 1885 foundation of the Indian National Congress, and you can go through this timeline and make your own timeline for study history easily. So it will more easy to make one timeline for your history preparation. Okay. And this is modern world in 20th century timeline. Okay. All this we discussed. 1905 Russo Japanese war is there, beginning of the first war 1914, and Russian revolution on 1917. 1918 end of the first world war and foundation of League of Nations on 1920, and the great economic depression on 1929, and the Japanese invasion of Manchuria on 1931. Rome, Berlin, Tokyo Axis 1937, and Second World War is on 1939. And foundation of the UNO 1945, creation of NATO 1949, and CETO is there on 1954, and Warsaw Pact 1955, and the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty on 1963, and Non-Proliferation Treaty on 1970. So this is modern world modern history, 20th century. And Indian history, you can make timeline from ancient history onwards, ancient, medieval, and modern. This is the modern history timeline. So Indian Independent Act on 1947, and 1946 Cabinet Mission Plan, and 1942 Cripps Mission and Quit India, And August offer is there on 1940, and outbreak of the Second World War 1939, and Pune Pact 1932, civil disobedience and Dandi March on 1930, and Purna Swaraj Declaration 1929, 1928 Nehru Report and Simon Commission Report on 1927, and the Swaraj Party, and 1920 is Non-Cooperation Movement, Jallianwala Bagh Massacre on 1919. Hope you all remember this, and Home Rule Movement on 1960, and First World War on 1914, and Surat split on 1907, establishment of Muslim League 1906, partition of Bengal or Swadeshi movement on 1905. Okay, so this is some important incidents in between. That's it. So this is all about our history NCRT series, and please go through our channel and revise our previous chapters. And for more NCRT series, you just do like, share, and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much.
We offer well-equipped reading rooms for students, reading room and premium reading room. Our facilities are comfortable and executive chairs, inbuilt lockers, Wi-Fi, newspapers, periodicals, and a fully air-conditioned, peaceful environment and CCTV secured. Additional facilities include clean drinking water, a separate lunch area, and a game zone, chess and carom, for relaxation. For admission, contact us on 909-448-5485 Trivandrum.